is going on, Brownie Bros? It is Big Time Brownie, your coach of the Green Bay Yampers, and I am excited to announce that we will be returning to the International Battling League for Season 8. If you guys did not know, the International Battling League, or the IBL, is a Wi-Fi league. I participated in Season 7 last year. We played pretty well for the most part. We were 5-3. We were in really good position to make the playoffs, but then I bottled it. And lost 3 straight, and it was a really disappointing end to the season. So I'm hoping that we can bounce back. And if you guys are interested in any Green Bay Yampers merch, you can head over to bigtimebrownie.com/merch. Everything is marked down 20% from its original price. So yeah, that's cool. If that's something that you want to do to support the channel and support the Yampers, make sure you go on and do that. All right. That being said, like I said, I do want to bounce back. I wasn't planning on being part of this league or any Wi-Fi league. As many of you know, I haven't been streaming. I just started uploading again because of my move. I didn't really have internet. There's a bunch of issues that I've been having. So, I wasn't planning on doing this, and I told Brendan, the commissioner of the league, that I wouldn't be able to do it. But then, we were talking the other day, and I was like, if I have everything is squared away now, if someone happens to drop out, which obviously I wasn't hoping would happen. If someone had to drop out, I would take over. And unfortunately, Beta, coach of the Jump Love Express, had to drop out. So he's the one who actually drafted this team that you see on the screen. And so I'm taking over for his team. I was able to make 5 changes to the team with no penalty, not using any free agency tokens. And I did just that. As you can see, the 4 Pokemon at the bottom there, the small ones, are the ones I dropped. But you know what? Well, let's just get into the team. Oh, before I do that, actually, one thing I did want to say is usually for draft analyses, I like to have separate slides for each single Pokemon. But given that I just joined the league and I'm the first battle is being uploaded this Sunday, so super soon, and that there's 16 Pokemon I have to talk about, 15 Pokemon I have to talk about. We're just going to be looking at this wonderful screen with these GIFs. So I apologize, but I think, it's easier for me, and I think it'll be fine. So let's talk about the team that Beta drafted. So Beta drafted G-Max Rillaboom as his G-Max Pokemon. So Gigantamax Pokemon are allowed. It was a Tier 1 G-Max. I think that was a great pick because it basically gives you a really strong Tier 1 Pokemon, but it also is able to Gigantamax, which is awesome. We'll get into it specifically, but I think that was a really good pick. And his second Tier 1 pick was Hawlucha, or I guess that was his actual Tier 1 pick, along with his VMAX pick, which was Hawlucha, which has some really good synergy with Rillaboom. His 2 Tier 2 picks were Galarian, Weezing, and Primarina. Going down to the Tier 3s, he got Flapple, and what's the Klefki? I believe those are the 2 Tier 3s, and Persian, actually. I think all 3 of them are Tier 3s. Klefki might have been Tier 4s. In any case, he also drafted the Klefki, Raboot, Lunatone, and Comfey. So those are the mons that he drafted. I ended up drafting Galarian, Weezing, Flapple, Alolan Persian, and Lunatone, and I ended up picking up Kangaskhan, Goodra, a Selgor, and regular Weezing. And he also drafted Colossal. I forgot to mention Colossal. But yeah, so I picked up a Selgor, Weezing, Kangaskhan, and Goodra, and dropped those 4 at the bottom of the screen there. And basically, I think Beta drafted a really good starting base for this team, but it ended up having 4 fairies. We're down to 3 now. Which is better than, I think it's more manageable than 4. Luckily, there's not, there's some 2 are weak to poison, and only 1's weak to steel. So there's not a whole lot, there's not a whole lot, all 3 of them aren't weak to the same types, but having 4 of the same type is a little bit of overkill, especially on this team. Flapple, I didn't really want because Hustle scares me, so I ended up getting Goodra, which is a bulkier Pokemon, and I wanted a special attacker. Alolan Persian is really cool, but I think, because I was picking up Goodra, which is a Tier 2, and dropping Flapple, which is a Tier 3, I had to pick up another Tier 3 as well. So I ended up getting Weezing. And Alolan Persian has a really good speed tier, is really cool, but I wanted to get something that I think I would use more, and that was a Selgor. So, yeah, so because we dropped this is really confusing. This is probably just incredibly confusing to listen to, so I apologize. I really do apologize. But yeah, I mean, I picked up Weezing because, you know, we were dropping Galarian Weezing. I wanted a Poison type, and it does all the same things that Galarian Weezing does, except just slightly worse. But it also allows us to get rid of a Fairy type, so that we lose a Steel type weakness there. I dropped the Flapple and picked up Goodra, because I needed a Dragon type, I wanted a stronger Dragon type, I wanted a special attacker, and also it doesn't have Hustle. Alolan Persian, cool Pokemon, very fast, some good tech. I wanted another hazard setter, so I was able to get a Selgor. A Selgor also has Unburden, which can be really useful and has a really good ability. It's one of the fastest Pokemon in the tier, I believe the fastest Pokemon in the meta right now, so that's really cool. And I dropped Lunatone and picked up Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan's just a physical attacker. It's a normal type. She can be useful at times. So yeah, so let's get into the team let's get into each mon individually. So like I alluded to, the first Pokemon that was chosen was, or I don't know if it was first, but the Gmax that was chosen was Gmax Rillaboom. And Rillaboom is just a fantastic Pokemon. It has the ability Grassy Surge, which is really good, and it has access to the move Grassy Glide, which gives you priority and is boosted up to 91 base power in the terrain. It has priority only in the terrain, but still. And then as a max Pokemon, it gets access to things like Acrobatics, so Max Airstream, which can raise your speed. It gets Max Knuckle, which can raise your attack. And then it gets a lot of cool coverage moves like Earthquake and Knockoff. It can U-turn. It can set up with Swords Dance, or not Knockoff, sorry. It gets, oh no, that does get Knockoff, but it also gets Darkest Lariat. So yeah, it has all sorts of really cool, and there's more there too that it gets. But I think it's a really strong offensive Pokemon with decent bulk. It has access to that priority, and just as a Pokemon, it has access to really good max moves that can allow it to win, I think. And then you have a Pokemon, then Hawlucha, which I think was another just fantastic pick. It has great synergy because it has the ability Unburden. So if you use a Grassy Seed, it doubles its speed. It's already super fast at 118, and if you double that, there are very few things that can outspeed it. A Selgor with Unburden is one of them, but like one of the only ones. So I think that's really good. It's really hard to prep for Fighting and Flying Stab. Hawlucha's move pool is not very deep. There's not a whole lot that it's going to be doing. It's going to basically just be running the offensive set, probably with setup, Swords Dance, Close Combat, and Acrobatics. But you know what? It does what it does really well, and I'm excited to use it. Or at least try it at the beginning of the season. If I feel like it's not working out, I can always make the 3 changes I have remaining. But I think it's going to be really good with Rillaboom and really hard to deal with. Then we have Primarina. Primarina, just a super bulky and super strong water fairy type. Stab Moonblast and Stab Hyper Voice water type, or Sparkling Aria or Hydro Pump or whatever, are just really strong with this mon's 126 base special attack, and it has 116 special defense. So this thing can beat Choice Specs. It also gets Flip Turn now, so it gets some cool initiative. It can set up screens. It can just be a special wall, rather. So it has a lot of really cool sets, but really it just is a super powerful Pokemon that's really hard to switch into. Then we get into more of the support. I envision these 3 mons that I just talked about being, doing the bulk of the sweeping this season. But to support them, you need rocks, you need hazards, you need status. So Klefki does all those things. Well, not rocks, but it gives you spikes. It gives me Prankster, so I could get Prankster screens. There's, Switcheroo, it could do something like that. It does give me a Steel typing, which is really nice. So we're immune to that Poison type, which is super effective against our Primarina and our Rillaboom. It can also Prankster T-Wave. So yeah, it's a really good utility Pokemon that I think could be very useful. Similarly, Acelgor is super fast. It can set up spikes. It can toxic spikes. But I think people really sleep on Acelgor. You know, Acelgor, when people think about it, they think of Sash lead, super fast with its 145 base speed. But people forget it has 80 HP, which is like decent, and 100 special attack, which, you know, that's what the Mythicals have. So it has 100 special attack. It has the ability Unburden. So if you're able to, you know, use like Throat Spray and set up with it, and get to +1 special attack, it has some really good, you know, it can have some really good offensive potential as well. You know, it has the stab Bug Buzz, it has Energy Ball or Giga Drain, it has Sludge Bomb, and even Water Shuriken for priority as a water type move. So I think there's a lot of cool things that you can do with this mon, and I'm really excited to use it on top of the toxic spikes and spikes that it does give me. But also that is going to be nice to be able to whittle down Pokemon and have like Hawlucha or Rillaboom just win the game from there. So I'm definitely very, very excited to use this Pokemon. I love me some spikes. So then, you know, the thing is that's weird about this video is that like the mons aren't lined up the way that I'm talking about them, and maybe I probably should have done that. But you know, it is what it is. We're here now. So the next mon I'm going to talk about is Comfey. Comfey is a really interesting Pokemon, and it's a Pokemon that I'm going to keep for now, but it's definitely at risk of being dropped because it is a third fairy type, but I really do want to use it and see what it can do. It's a really good cleric. It gets access to like aromatherapy. It can also defog, and you know it has just good stats: 90 defense, 100 special defense, and 100 speed, and then the 82 special attack, which is not great, but the defenses are really nice. It has a really awesome ability called Triage, which means this Pokemon's healing moves have their priority increased to plus by 3. So it's at 3 priority. It outspeeds pretty much every other priority. It has the same priority as Extreme Speed. So that means if you Draining Kiss, if you Giga Drain, if you Synthesis, if you Floral Healing, which I don't think has any use in singles, but you know, if you do any of that, it goes first all the time. So it could be used to stall out Gigantamax Pokemon by just spamming Synthesis if I can take the hits. Heal Bell will go first, I believe. So some really cool things that you can do there, and it has the setup potential on Calm Mind. It can also Tailwind, so I'm excited. I'm excited to use this Pokemon. Next, as I alluded to earlier, we do have Weezing, and Weezing is a very, very good defensive Pokemon, 120 defense. You know, it's really just going to be that defensive mon. Another toxic spike setter. It has access to stab Sludge Bomb, which is really nice. It can toxic and Will-O-Wisp Pokemon as well. And then it gets T-Bolt and Flamethrower / Fire Blast, which are decent coverage moves. It can Haze or Clear Smog to get rid of those pesky setup threats. So, you know, just a solid mon. I've had a lot of success with it. Back in Gen 6, I used to use it on my all-U teams because I just loved it so much. So I'm excited to have that back. Then we have the last 3 Pokemon, which are Colossal, Reboot, and Kangaskhan. So Reboot's a really, really interesting Pokemon because Reboot does get access to Libero, which changes your type to the move you're using. It doesn't get like Court Change, and it doesn't get Pyro Ball, and it also doesn't get Zen Headbutt. So it doesn't get, but Court Change and Pyro Ball are 2 of Cinderace's signature moves. But its stats are decent. It has 94 speed and 86 attack, and with every move being Stab, it actually, you know, it can do some damage. So, you know, it still gets access to Gunk Shot and High Jump Kick, and, you know, U-Turn. It can still Flare Blitz. So, you know, it'll be interesting. This is another Pokemon that I might end up dropping, but I think it's something that you do have to prepare for, and a mon that could be a sneaky, sneaky, huge threat this season, especially in a meta that's not fast, that's not very fast, and, you know, honestly, like, not very strong either. Like, its stats just aren't that bad. So, very interested in using that monster, that pocket monster. Then we can talk about Colossal, another Spike setter on this team. It also can set up Stealth Rock. It's the only Stealth Rock user we have currently. And it can also Rapid Spin, which is really nice. And it gets a lot of really... it gets a lot of moves. It has an ability called Steam Engine, so when you're hit by a fire type move or a water type move, your speed is raised by 6 stages. It also has Flame Body and Flash Fire. So 3 really viable abilities. It can't really hit a water type move unless like you put a Pasho Berry on it. But you know, it's not Gmax. It's not Gmax Colossal, so it's not nearly as good in that respect. But it is. It can be useful, especially with the Rapid Spin, Stealth Rocks, and the Spikes. And then, you know, fire is a good offensive typing, as is Rock. So, you know, and it gets access to the new move Scorching Sands, which is basically a ground type Scald. So that's kind of cool. And you know, it can switch into those fire type moves and quad resistant and potentially go to +6. So it'll be interesting. Another Pokemon that I might drop, but definitely willing to give it a shot. And then finally, we have Kangaskhan, a Pokemon I have never, ever used. But this thing has 105 HP, which is insane. It has 95 attack, which is really good. And this is a tier 5, by the way. It has 90 speed, which is, again, it's not a very fast meta. 90 speed is not bad. It's not like Natdex, it's not Gen 7. 90 speed is respectable. And it has 80 in both defenses, so it can be bulky, it can be a scrappy attacker. Scrappy means that it's fighting normal type moves are hit Ghost, and now in Gen 8 it's immune to Intimidate. It also has Inner Focus, so it can't flinch and is also immune to Intimidate. And it gets a lot of really, really great coverage. So there's no stab return anymore, so the strongest move that I'm probably going to be using is Body Slam, but it also gets access to Double Edge, the stab fake out. It gets things like Hammer Arm, it gets Ice Punch, Power Up Punch, Rock Slide, Thunder Punch, Sucker Punch, you know, just so much coverage. Fire Punch, it gets all the punches. So Aqua Tail even, like, it's an Outrage. I mean, it has so much utility, I think, as, you know, a sneaky good attacking threat. On top of that, with its 105 special, or 105 HP and 80 defenses, it's decently bulky, and it can also Toxic, and it can also Wish. I really wanted a Wish Passer on this team, and although this is not, you know, your stereotypical Wish Pokemon, it can Wish, and, you know, unfortunately it can't Baton Pass. Speed Passing is not allowed, unfortunately, this season, but it can't Baton Pass on its own anyway. So, you know, it's a sneaky good Pokemon, and one that I am actually really, really excited to use because I've never used it before, and, you know, it's something that I'm just very intrigued by. Huge shout out to TRT, who helped me with some of the changes, and Steven, my GM, not really this season, but my GM in the past, but he also helped me talk through some things. So huge shout out to them. Thank you, you know, to Beta for drafting this team. I'm really excited to use the mods that he did draft. So yeah, and huge thanks to Brendan for allowing me to be back in the league. I'm really excited to be a coach in Season 8 of the IBL. If you did enjoy, please make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our battles. The first battle will be going up Sunday. I have to use, I don't know if I mentioned this actually, I have to use Beta's team, so the team he drafted in Week 1. So those 4 mods at the bottom will be part of the team. They all have a chance of coming in Week 1. But with that, I'm going to get out of here. Remember, a video from Big Time keeps your life sublime. So until next time, bye guys.